What is Monty Hall? It's not what, it's who. Monty Hall was a game show host. He hosted the game show Let's Make a Deal. You might have heard of it. It was really popular. Still running, so people must watch it still. It's a different host because Monty Hall is dead. But basically it was contestants. The audience were contestants, and they got items, and then they could like make deals to get better items. So anyway, just like any other game show, there's like side games, side activities like win money here or win a new car. One of the side games included 3 doors, right? Now to explain this to the best of my ability, I need a volunteer.
No way.
Colorado, right? Yeah. Okay, so here's what you need to know. There's $1 million behind one of the doors.
Okay.
And in the actual game show, there's goats behind the other 2, but some people actually want goats. So we're gonna say it's poop. So there's $1 million behind one of the doors and poop behind the other 2. Your goal is to get the money. So pick a door. 2? Yeah, okay. Well, let's see. I'm Monty Hall, right? I walk up to door number 1 and I open it and I show you there's poop behind it. And then I'm like, now, do you want to switch from 2 to 3 or do you want to stay?
I think let's switch.
Okay.
No. When I first picked the door, I had 1 out of 3 to guess the right door. Now it's a 50-50. I'm gonna pick the right door.
You want that though?
Okay. So you switch. Yeah. Let's see if you won the money, right?
So hard.
Oh. You switch.
Alright.
Oh. You've heard most people go like, no, why would you switch? Well, most people don't switch. Anyway, this was pretty simple, right? This is the Monty Hall problem. It's not very complicated. Why did people study this for so long? Why are so many people fascinated by it? Well, let's go back to the original choice. Okay. When I asked them to switch, there was 2 doors left. One has the money, one has the other piece of poop. And you don't know what's behind them, or you didn't, I do. But that's a 50-50 choice, right? Not right. It's not 50-50. It's 33 to 67. 67% of the time, you will win the money if you switch. That is because of probability, and you were almost there. You said it was a 50-50, but it's actually not. And that's why it's so interesting. Because oops. Okay. Why? Well, it has to do with these 3 rules. First of all, these 3 rules have to do with the host. I'm Monty Hall. I know what's behind the doors, right? I'm never gonna open your door, because that would ruin the game, that would ruin the entertainment value. I'm never gonna open the door with the money behind it, because that would also ruin the game, it would ruin the entertainment value. And I'm always going to give you the option to switch between the door that's remaining and the door that I didn't open. So if we go back, the 3 doors, what is the probability that you picked the money originally? 1 out of 3, like you said. What is the probability that you picked the poop originally? 2 out of 3. So let's say you pick one, let's say this is poop, right? Or I don't even remember. Let's say this is poop and this is poop and that's the money. Let's say you pick this, and then the only other door, because I can only open a poop door, is this. So you pick this, I open this, the only door left is the money. So if you switch, you win the money. If you pick this door, this is poop, then I open this door because it's the only other poop, and the only door left is the money. So if you switch, you win the money. If you pick the money, then I can open either of these, right? And then if you switch, you win the poop. But you pick the poop more often than you're gonna pick the money, right? So you should switch more often than you shouldn't. So 67% of the time you should switch, because 67% of the time, if you switch, you win the money. Anyway, what you need to know is that you should switch every single time, and that messed with me. When I learned about this in like 6th grade, I used to like do coin flips and think that they weren't 50-50 choices. And I read in the paper like last week that they actually aren't, because your thumb and your fingernail is made in a way, depending on how it's like made, then it's going to land on the side that the opposite side that was up. So let's say you put it on your finger and heads is up, it'll probably land on tails, depending on how your thumb is. Anyway, that's not even part of my presentation. So I had all, no matter what, you would have won. The switching is right, because anyway. This has to do, how does it connect to media? Anyway, choices, right? We make choices from the second we wake up to the second we wake up the next day, because whether we're breathing, blinking, our heart's pumping blood, we're making choices. Most of those aren't conscious, but no, they're choices, right? So also, let go up a level when we wake up, what we eat when we wake up, if we want to go to school, if we want to brush, these are all conscious choices. But up another level, when we go on our phones, if we want to put our password in correctly, if we want to like go on YouTube and watch a certain video, if we want to, the words we use when we search things up, these are all conscious decisions that we're making. Now, like in the Monty Hall problem, we are told that not all choices are intuitive. Some of them are counterintuitive because of something called the status quo bias. That is like your gut feeling is usually wrong. The status quo bias is preferring your pre-existing beliefs. It's, I believe this thing and then I get new information, but I'm going to stick with the thing I believed before because that was probably right. That's why most people get the Monty Hall problem wrong, because they think they got it right initially. But by probability, they probably got it wrong, because 2 out of 3 times you probably get the poop. So you're probably wrong. So you should probably switch. Also, the human ability to change choice, to change decision, to change our minds is extremely important in life and in media. But in media, a lot of people don't do that. So when you don't constantly change your mind, when you don't constantly change your perspective, what are you? I remove this from reason. You're stubborn. Now, stubbornness has some good definitions. There was a Stanford article that says there's a bunch of words that are like, they don't have a real meaning because they're subjective, like greed or respect or kindness, but stubbornness is one of them. But we're not talking about the good definition, because the good definition could be like, oh, you're stubborn to reach your goal, you're determined. We're not talking about that. We're talking about being entitled to the point of no return. Like, this is my way or the highway, I'm gonna die on this hill and no one's taking me off. I'm gonna refuse all other perspectives and no one's gonna change my mind. That is everywhere in media. You go to YouTube, you go to Twitter, you go to the comments of anywhere, you will find people being stubborn about everything. People have opinions about everything. People are very adamant about those opinions. Now, not everyone is stubborn. A lot of people are open-minded, which is what we're gonna talk about next. But when you're stubborn, your choices become like a melting pot for bias. Because if you're stubborn about something, then your decisions become one-sided. And if your decisions and choices and ideas are one-sided, then you're biased. Now, hold on, I have flashcards for a reason, right? Okay, so 88% of people, by Pew Research, have seen cruelty or like people being mean on the internet. In my opinion, it should be 100%, but I guess there's like toddlers using it, like YouTube kids or whatever. So that's 88%, right? A lot of the bullying and things like that is just bullying, right? It's cyberbullying, people saying mean things. But also a lot of it is in arguments. When you get in an argument on the internet, if any of you have ever done that, I have. A lot of people, like, they are stubborn. They don't want to understand your argument. They don't want to give what you're saying time of day. And when that happens, they get mean, they get rude, they say mean things. And that's not everybody, but a lot of people do. And another version of stubbornness, and I'm sure we've all experienced, when we were kids, we were all very stubborn, 100%. And then there's also stubbornness in like herd mentality and things like that, because let's say there's a show that everyone's watching and you're like, everyone's watching that, it must be good. I'm not gonna watch that because it's probably not good. I'm probably not gonna like it. I've done that a lot. That's anti-herd mentality. It's when you go against the herd because you're quirky, you're different. But that's also a sign of being stubborn. You're not willing to experience new things because you're only wanting to experience this one thing. Now, it's not the presentation either. That's not either. Okay, what is the opposite of stubbornness? Well, it's being open-minded. In my opinion, being open-minded is the hardest thing any human can do. The amount of self-control that it takes to be open-minded in the face of complete opposition is one of the hardest things humans can do, but it's one of the most amazing things that we as humans have the ability to do. The fact that we can be open-minded and understand other people and where they're coming from is extremely amazing. Animals don't have that ability. Humans, being open-minded, I consider myself as a pretty open-minded person. I'm not a lot of aspects, but when people provide me with information that I fully disagree with, I try my absolute best to understand where they're coming from and sympathize and empathize with them. Now, doing this over media, or text, or in comments, it's extremely difficult because there's no emotional cues, there's no facial cues, there's no like energy that's being shared between the two people. When you're having interpersonal conversation, not mass media communication. You are feeling these things, you can read the room, you can understand what they're saying, you can not read their mind, but almost read their mind. Because just like I said, that's an amazing ability for humans to be able to read what other people are thinking or feeling. But having open mind conversation, you create an environment for stubbornness to go away. When you're talking over media, stubbornness can hold you hostage and it can change your mind because there's masses of people that are saying this thing and they can change your mind. But in interpersonal conversation, just one person, instead of changing your mind, they can literally change the entire way that you're thinking about life. Like they will literally alter your soul instead of masses of people just changing your mind just for the sake of changing your mind. Open-mindedness is not very prevalent on the internet. Closed-mindedness is, because things like echo chambers, algorithms, companies, they build walls around you so you can't escape them. And when you hit the wall, you can kind of tell, because you're trying to, if you go on YouTube and you're in an algorithm, the only way you can get information completely outside of your algorithm is by completely changing your algorithm. I've done this experiment. If you try and change from your algorithm to another algorithm, there's sort of a middle ground. And that's where you get information from both sides. But as soon as it gets the idea that, oh, he's really trying to switch, or then it'll give you information all the way on the other side. So no matter what, you're going to be in an echo chamber at some point. At some point, you'll be in the middle and you'll have both sides of the spectrum, but it's not very common because most people don't constantly search different sides of topics because we have opinions, right? Now, how do we connect it all together? Okay, so like I said, the status quo bias. The status quo bias is the main reason people get the Monty Hall problem wrong. People stick with their original choice because I probably get it right. Why would I switch? Because he gave me the choice to switch. I definitely got it right the first time. And then when they don't switch and they realize they got it wrong, they're like, oh, I knew I should have switched. Or if they do, then they're like, oh, I knew I should have switched. I got it right. I'm so smart. That's not. If you look at the logic, if you look at the probability, you'll know that you should have switched because that's how it is. Now, most people don't do that. So what I'm saying is, if you look at, I'm going to preach for a second. If you look at life like the Monty Hall problem, and you look at choices like the doors, not all of these choices are made equally. Not all of them are weighted level. Different choices are going to lead you down different paths. But we as humans, unlike in the Monty Hall problem, have the ability to pick a door and then open it, see what's behind it, and then not go through it. We can go different ways, we can open different doors, we can switch. But instead of in the Monty Hall problem, it's not a counterintuitive choice. In real life, when we switch, we can switch perspectives, we can switch our minds, we can change things. So when you leave this room, I implore you to explore the limits, like the limitless possibilities that await you when you dare to switch, because like in the Monty Hall problem, you might win $1 million. Thanks.